It's almost a cliche to say that Indian Americans are among America's most influential ethnic groups. Over the last 20 years, Indians in America have gone from being a small, largely underrepresented community to becoming one of the most influential American communities in business, arts, culture, and politics. But it's that last thing, politics, that we really need to talk about. Because just about 30 years ago, there were barely any Indians in American politics at any level. No governors, no congressmen, no senators, and certainly no presidents or vice presidents. Today, things have changed dramatically. Vice President Kamala Harris, who is also leading in the polls to become the next president of America, is of Indian origin. 5 members of the House of Representatives and dozens of state-level politicians are also Indian Americans. But how exactly did that change happen? To understand that, we actually have to begin with how Indians first came to America. By the end of the 19th and the beginning of the early 20th century, Indians, who were mostly laborers, started coming to America. They were there to build infrastructure, particularly the railways, in states like California. But as thousands of Indians and other Asian immigrants began coming into America, their presence sparked a conservative and frankly racist backlash. This backlash led to the passage of the Immigration Act of 1917, which placed strict restrictions on immigration from Asian countries, including from India. This was followed by the Asian Exclusion Act of 1924. These two acts halted the growth of the Indian community in America, which stood at just about 3,000 people in 1930. But despite racial discrimination, Indian Americans found one of their first major political leaders in Dalip Singh Saund. Born in Punjab in 1899, Saund first moved to America to study in the 1920s. He finished a PhD in mathematics, but realized that his aspiration to become a teacher was restricted by the fact that he wasn't allowed to become a US citizen. Saund then became a prominent community organizer and an active figure in local American politics. In 1946, he helped bring in the Luce-Celler Act, which allowed thousands of Indians to become US citizens for the first time, and which also relaxed some restrictions in allowing Indians to move to America. And then, in 1956, Saund became the first Indian ever to get elected to the United States House of Representatives. He served 3 terms in office, and his election was nothing short of historic for Indians in America. But after he left office in 1963, there were no Indians in any political office of significance. The Indian American community was still very small, not particularly well educated, and not particularly financially influential. But all of that was about to change. The Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 removed restrictions on Indian migration to America. This act opened the doors for skilled workers and students to come into America and work there, resulting in a dramatic rise in the Indian American population. According to some estimates, long-term immigration from India averaged about 40,000 people per year from 1965 to the mid-1990s. And this was only accelerated by the technology boom of the 1990s, where between 1995 and 2000, approximately 90,000 Indians immigrated to the United States in a single year. By the mid-1990s, there were 1 million Indians living in America, and by 2010, that number had tripled to 3 million. The Indian American community also got a whole lot richer. For many decades, Indian Americans were actually a much poorer immigrant community and made less than the average American family. But the influx of highly skilled and highly educated workers from India during the 1980s and 1990s raised that level. By 2000, the median household income for Indian Americans hit $74,000. But despite this wealth, Indian Americans still didn't have any major political representation in US politics. In 2000, there were no Indians in the United States Congress or in the Senate, there were no Indian governors, and only a handful in key local positions. But that steadily began to change. In 2007, Bobby Jindal became the first Indian to become a governor of a US state when he became the governor of Louisiana. In 2012, Dr. Ami Bera became the first Indian to be elected to the United States House of Representatives in almost 60 years. 2016 was an even bigger year for Indian Americans in politics. 3 more Indians entered the House of Representatives. That number now stands at 5, and these 5 are popularly known as the Samosa Caucus. Kamala Harris became the first Indian American in the Senate. Today, Harris could be the next president of America. The number of Indians in national politics is only set to increase, and almost 50 Indians are in key state-level elected positions. So what exactly changed? There were essentially a few key developments over the last couple of decades. As we pointed out, the first was the size of the Indian American community, which now stands at almost 5 million people. The second was the community's wealth. The median annual household income for Indian Americans is $150,000, which makes it among the richest communities in the United States. That wealth has led to increased political donations, and as you might know, money really does talk in American politics. The power of numbers, as well as financial power, has led both the Democrats and Republicans to bring in more Indian Americans into their ranks. Besides this, as America's culture shifts more towards bringing in diversity and highlighting non-mainstream voices, Indian Americans have benefited tremendously. So that's how Indians went from being practically invisible to a powerful, vocal, and influential group in American politics.